I'm out of here. I'm history, that's all she wrote. Not only has a fat lady sung, but she's left the theater with Elvis.
Hi, I'm Rachel.
And I'm Matt,
And this is Come In 81 Kilo.
a Forever Night podcast.
Welcome back, friends. It's time for another episode.
Every ending is a new beginning.
Every new beginning is some other beginning's end.
This was the end of a lot of things.
Don't make me laugh right now, okay? This is a really sad episode. Of course, this is episode 1, season 3, Black Buddha, part 1. It's a two-parter. The first half of a two-parter in which a lot of sad things happen. Now tell me, Matt, were you expecting any of this?
No. No, I figured it'd be like season 1 where they just keep doing the same old shit.
Oh, good. 22
Same
more
old
episodes.
shit, different place. But it's same old place, different shit.
Yeah. It's some bullshit is what it is.
Yeah.
It's some bullshit. Season 3 gets a lot of flack. A lot of people don't like season 3. I don't dislike season 3. I think the easiest way to think of Forever Night is really 3 retellings of the same story. Because we get effectively repeat plot episodes. I mean, we're going to repeat a lot of what we said in Killer Instinct in this season premiere.
And it seems like the beginning of every season reverts back to, oh yeah, Nick and Natalie were working on this thing where Nick's going to be mortal. And he does this stuff like try to eat food and take vitamins or whatever.
Right. It's like Dark Knight and Killer Instinct.
But we forget about it.
Yeah, it's like Dark Knight and Killer Instinct had a baby, and then that baby killed Skanky and Jeanette and Cohen.
And they don't even get a cameo.
They don't even get a fucking cameo. You know what they get? A picture on the wall.
Jeanette doesn't even get a picture.
No, she doesn't even get a picture. God. This is so scorched earth. They're just like, okay, we're in a new place. We're in a new network. They wanted John to come back and be the captain. But his screen time was going to be super diminished. So he was going to be having to stay here and work here, but have such a small role, it wasn't worth his time. So he ended up just walking away. Deborah Duchesne, word on the street is they felt she was not pretty enough.
Bullshit.
That's some bullshit. I don't know who looked her in the eye and said that, but shame on you. Shame on your ancestors. Shame on your cow. Shame on everything. I cannot believe you could look that woman in the eye and be like, I think I'd rather have Vashon. Get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck out. Whoever said that. They also wanted to get rid of Natalie, but Garrett threatened to quit. He was like, I'm sorry, is this the same show? Being Human did this. Being Human, the British one. At the end of, I think, the 3rd season, they all wanted to leave. So at least there's an explanation that makes sense, and we get to see them leave.
We get to see the main characters actually participate in the plot shift.
Yeah. So the last 2 seasons has an entirely different cast, but it makes sense.
I really do like Hal.
I do like Hal. Hal is Hal greater than sign Mitchell.
Absolutely. Gigantic greater than sign.
Yeah. I mean, Mitchell's all right, but God, could someone make that man take a shower? So anyway, So season 3 gets a lot of flack. Here's how I kind of feel. Okay. Season 1, we had hot Nick. We had, I probably can ride the motorcycle that's in my apartment were I not restricted because of insurance reasons. I spend my night out being like the vampire arm of the law that sort of follows the law when it suits me, but I'm also willing to be a bad boy and do bad boy shit. And then I get chicks on the sides. We get like cool, hot Nick, right?
Player Nick.
Player Nick. And then season 2, we get I'm a compassionate, interesting character Skanky. Like cool dad Skanky. And then season 3, we get LaCroix is a fleshed out character who you can sympathize with and who you see as a 3-dimensional thing instead of just a voice on the radio or a smug look.
Or a foil for Nick.
Or a foil for Nick. Had we gotten all 3 of those things all in the same season, magic, right? Every single
Just
season.
imagine the sound of all those panties dropping.
Just could we have gotten all if we had just smushed these all together and ditched the parts that don't make sense? Like Tracy's all right. I mean, if you had never watched season 1 and you had never watched season 2 and you're picking this series up right now, yeah, Tracy's fine. She's fine. There's nothing wrong with Tracy, but she's not Skanky. And she's never going to be Skanky. And then you get Vachon, who's okay. But as a vampire semi-companion for Nick, he ain't Jeanette, okay?
Yeah, he's a poor replacement for Jeanette.
He had boobs, that's what you're thinking. But anyway, we're going to get into it, but I don't think season 3 is deserving of the condemnation that it often gets. It has some wild, really bad episodes, and we're going to have so much fun with them. I can tell already, but there are some really good episodes too.
You know, here's my hot take. Black Buddha Part 1 and 2 would have been a much better season 2 series finale, or season 2 finale.
Yeah. Yeah. But they didn't know they were going to come back.
Ah.
That's the problem. Is at the end of each season, it was like, it's not like now where it's like, wow, before it even aired, they're already renewed. And we can plan for that. It was like, well, we're not sure. And then season 1 ended. They weren't sure. They actually thought they were done. Then they come back and do season 2. They weren't sure. And then they came back for season 3. And I think that's why each one feels so disjointed, because they were never sure enough to be able to write a long-term storyline.
Yeah.
So anyway, on that note, we open with a sex scene. This is an energetic sex scene.
Yeah, they're into it.
This woman is selling it.
This is like a tumbling lesson.
Yeah, it's acrobatic. I don't know what is happening. She's on all fours, and then she's on her back, and then she's on top. And there's like gasping, and then voodoo black magic is playing.
There's a radio attached to the bed.
Yeah, we know because she grabs the headboard and the whole headboard shakes. There's so much happening in this scene, and wow, what a bold season opener. You turn on Crime Time after Prime Time, you put on Forever Night, and first scene, first episode, this chick is getting graphically. I mean, this is graphic for the 90s, this scene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The 90s on broadcast television.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is really graphic. And this is actually the woman who played in Last Act. I promised way back in Last Act that she was going to come back. And here she is. And it turns out she's a pilot, because while she's having this tantric moment with Toronto Jerry, I don't think we ever get his real name.
Yeah, I don't recall.
I don't think so. That she is having this moment, and he is also building a bomb, and we're going back and forth between the two. And then we see him put the bomb in this music box and put it in this box. And he ends up giving it to her. And she's like, oh, is this for me? And he goes, yeah, but only if you promise to not open it until you get in the air. And she's like, that's fine. 9/11 hasn't happened yet. I'm not suspicious of this. Oof. This actually aired on September 11th. Originally. Not of the same year, but...
Right. But foreshadowing?
No, God, don't do that. But then we go to the intro. Because we pan back, she's putting on her pilot's uniform.
Yeah.
We're like, oh my gosh, she gave that bomb to a pilot. And then, ba-dum. And this is our first intro for season 3, so we get to see our new characters. We get to see Vashon, we get to see Tracy, and we get to see Blue Man Kuma. And after we come back from the intro, our brand new intro, which ends with, I think, a new clip.
Yeah, new vampy face Nick.
Yeah. My favorite's still the first one where it's just, and it's his face panning slightly across the screen. The green eyes.
Why didn't we have Nick and Vashon?
Technically, this is still a show about Nick. It's not Forever Javier. It's Forever Night.
Valdez.
Well, JD Valdez is his street name. His real name is Javier Vachon.
No,
the
his
Spaniard.
street name is Lil Javi.
Oh, Vachon. So we come back from the intro to a flashback, and the flashback is the Titanic. And we know that
Bold choice.
because it says SS Titanic on the life rings.
Wait, hold on. I need to check something.
Yes, it sank at night. Is that what you're looking for?
No. The flotation devices on the Titanic didn't say SS Titanic.
Well, they
And
do now,
It
son.
was technically the RMS Titanic.
It's the SS Titanic.
Let's go with that.
Just go with it. It's fine.
It's an alternative history.
This is the lesser known sister ship that also sank in the exact same way. You know, somebody was like, what if we got Nick to blame himself for the sinking of the Titanic? Do you think we could make that work? And they were like, yeah, we so can make that work.
So ironically, the production for this episode would have very closely coincided with the production of James Cameron's Titanic that released in 1997.
I wonder if he had RMS Titanic on the life rings. The life buoy things. What are those called? Lifesavers?
Lifesavers, I think. Yeah. The pictures I found didn't have SS or RMS or anything. It just said Titanic.
That's okay. But like a doll falls down the stairs. Everybody's moving in slow motion, which I'm pretty sure is historically accurate. And Nick is standing there with this woman, and she's like, "It is me who did this."
The hubris to say,
bless this
yes,
woman's French accent.
This ship sinking is my fault.
Well, it is.
I'm that important.
Yes. As we will find out, this season leans a lot more into mysticism than the previous 2 seasons.
I'm so excited.
Are you? Because the first 2 seasons were like, yeah, vampires exist, but nothing else.
Ooh, does this have the ghost episode that you've mentioned?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Is that in this season 3?
It might be. It might be. You definitely flesh out there is more things under heaven and earth than are talked about in your stories. Like, there's more going on here. And that's season 3. Season 3 was like, we got vampires. What else can we throw in here?
Werewolves.
No. Stone Tree does
Darn.
not come back for this.
Scorpion?
Where scorpion?
We're scorpions.
Yeah. Well, it also undoes something else that we have come to rely on over the last 2 seasons, which is this woman talks about how she's responsible, and Nick's like, yeah, whatever you say, honey, because she's got a really long neck. That's a pretty fucking tempting neck, because he's like behind her, he's like caressing her neck, and then he does the and bites her. I did the whole head motion, which this is 1912. So this is well past his never again 100 years ago deadline.
Right.
Maybe he forgot. Maybe he didn't count it because she was going to die anyway.
Right. It's like, does it count as ending a life if they were going to die anyway, but also wasn't the agreement with her that he would turn her into a vampire?
Correct. But she says
How do
no.
we know?
No, because towards the end of the episode, she says, no, I don't want to be a vampire anymore. Could you live with thousands of lives on your conscience? And Nick's like, I've got 250,000, actually.
The answer to that is yes.
What did you think being a vampire was going to make you do?
And I would kill to make sure that I continue living.
Yeah.
Did you get the memo?
Yeah. Did I fucking stutter? Am I not a vampire? You wanted to be a vampire? What do you think I eat? Dandelions? How did you think this was going to play out, Claire? Because her name's Claire Gibson. But then he wakes up. He wakes up right after he bites her, like he's having a nightmare. And his forehead is all covered in blood sweat.
He wipes his forehead and then licks his
He goes,
finger.
just licks his finger.
So weird. So, okay, so we've established previously that the only blood in a vampire's body is blood that they've consumed.
Correct.
According to Natalie, who's not really an expert on vampires.
She and Nick said that together because that's back in Stranger Than Fiction.
Okay, so
yeah,
what would it taste like?
You know what?
Would it be half digested blood?
Did they did they put Ribena in a spray bottle and go spray on his face? And at this point, he was so addicted to it, he was just like, "Oh God, yes."
Or at this point in the production process, had he consumed so much Ribena that he actually sweated red droplets?
You know what I think? He probably did it just to fuck with them, and they left it in. That's my suspicion.
Oh,
because
wiping his forehead and
because it snuck in there. If you weren't super paying attention, I'm not sure you would notice that he licks his finger after he touches his forehead.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then he goes downstairs because he's getting dressed, and he gets a phone call, and he picks it up. And this is actually a phone call with Skanky, even though we don't hear John's voice.
Night. Yeah, I was just on the news. Oh, wear the good suit, Skank. You can expect some press out at the airport. Oh, don't worry about them. I'll drop in and see if they need anything. Maybe Myra will want to fool around a little. It's a joke, Skank. It's a joke, okay? Joke. Yeah. Yeah. No, I think we can all survive a week without you. Just give me a call when you get there, okay?
Because John's already been kicked out.
He wasn't kicked out. He elected to not return. Yeah.
If he elects to not return to a hostile work environment, that's still getting kicked out.
Correct. And he tells him, "Oh no, Skanky, wear the good suit. There's going to be press." And he's like, "Oh yeah, no, I'll check in on Myra. Maybe Myra will want to fool around. Fool around is what he says." And he's like, "Oh no, Skanky, I'm just kidding."
The Welsh sneaks in.
I mean, that's a weird joke, right?
It's in very poor taste.
That's so weird. And I Meg pointed out in the watch along that usually it's Skanky ribbing Nick. And so this was a nice reversal of Nick, ribbing Phantom Skanky on the other end of this phone call, because this kind of sounds like something that Skanky would make a joke about. And so I'm wondering if it was Nick trying to make a joke that he thought Skanky would think was funny, because it's the type of joke that Skanky would make.
What do you think about this? This is exactly the kind of thing that Garrett used to play off John Kapelos with, and they would just do a whole bunch of iterations on it and refine it and get a really good joke at the end that actually made it into the show. But now Garrett's coming in, all right, this is how I normally do it.
I mean, I'm sure this is scripted.
We try it 10 or 15 times.
Yeah, the cowboy days of season 1, where I'm sure they got a lot of say over what they said in the show, are long past.
Gare's the director on this one.
That is true, but he's not the scriptwriter.
Yeah, James Perriot,
I think,
is the scriptwriter,
and he's one of the original creators of the show.
Yeah. The whole, I guess, the cast thing may not have been his choice. He may have said, "Here's the cast.
I
Here's
don't
what
think they
needs to
got a
happen."
choice. I think they got, hey, you guys can stay on the air if you come to this network. Here you go. It kind of reminds me remember when Buffy left LPN or UPN for
Oh yeah,
the
that was
WB,
a whole big deal.
and they killed Buffy off. UPN
Yes.
killed Buffy off.
UPN killed Buffy and then said, "Okay,
Here you
here's
go.
Buffy."
Here's your
And
show.
WB is like, "What the fuck did you do?"
So I have a feeling that's sort of what happened, where they were like, oh, this is what you gave us? Okay, great. Well, here's the shakeups we're going to make because we think this is going to appeal to a younger audience.
And this reminds me of the Martin Scorsese McDonald's MCU stuff we were talking about earlier,
Yeah.
where the executives of the studio are making creative decisions and forcing the actual artists to comply with those, even though it's making bad content.
Because there's too much chaos in pure creativity. If you leave it up to just creativity, you get the chaos of season 1. But there's a lot more. The highs are higher in the like creative chaos.
Right.
And there's a higher chance for failure, but there's a greater chance for like unique magic success.
Right.
And then season 2 was like formula. Let's stick to the formula. And then season 3 is like, okay, we're going to try to make it a little bit like season 1, but not with you, Nick. You're too old now.
We're going to follow a similar recipe, but we're going to make some substitutions.
Yeah, because Vashon is very similar to season 1 Nick.
Yeah.
Reckless, cocksure, like just thirst trappy. I mean, that's what season 1 Nick is.
Okay,
and then,
that's a good point.
And then they got Vashon back. They were like, we can't make Garrett 6 years younger again, but we can get a new guy in, because yes, this is the 3rd season, but remember filming started in 1992. So more time has passed than just the 3 seasons you would normally get out of this. But this phone conversation continues. Unless you have something to say about how I just compared Vashon and season 1 Nick.
Oh,
I'm sorry. That was sacrilegious, and I apologize to literally everyone who is screaming at their...
especially Meg.
But I mean, look at it from a non-judgmental perspective. We get a lot of the same like reckless behaviors.
Look at it from the perspective of an uneducated, butt-headed executive.
Yeah.
That doesn't know what the fuck's going on.
Right.
They're just following the numbers from focus groups and that kind of thing.
We say this all the time, and it's true, is a lot of times these properties get picked up because they're successful. But what made them successful to start with gets lost or forgotten or not understood. They made this thing. It turned out to be magic, but nobody remembers. It's like when I make food. I don't ever use a recipe or follow anything. And sometimes I make something that's really good. I can never make it again. I don't know what's in it.
So a common thing that I say to Rachel when she makes, like, there's this gigantic, I don't know, like 3-gallon pot of soup. And it's really good. I've been having like 3 bowls a night for the last, I don't know, 6-7 days.
It's a really big pot.
And I told Rachel, I will enjoy this for the ephemeral thing that it is, knowing that I'm never going to have this soup again.
And doesn't it increase your enjoyment of what I cook?
Yeah,
Yes.
I appreciate it because I'm not going to be like, oh yeah, this soup's great. I'll just have a couple bowls right now, and I'll focus on enjoying the next one, because I'm never going to have this soup again. It's kind of like each season of Forever Night.
Yeah, it also kind of reminds me
You're
of...
never going to get that same vibe again.
Right. It also kind of reminds me of Murderbot. So stay with me here. Murderbot is an excellent science fiction series. Every single Murderbot novella or novel is a hit, 100%, 5 out of 5 stars. I have no notes. They're perfect. Martha Wells also writes fantasy. Martha Wells is not as successful as a fantasy writer because I don't think she really understands why Murderbot has the appeal that it has. If she did, she could apply that to her fantasy novels and she could make these brilliant fantasy novels that were on par with her science fiction novels. But she stumbled on this magic, and it feels like magic because she has no idea how it's happening, but it just keeps happening. And that's what happens a lot of times is they stumble on this magic. They made season 1 of Forever Knight, and it was fucking amazing, and nothing had ever been made like it before. And then they had no idea how to do that again. So they kept the same characters. They made season 2. Season 2 is fine. It's fine. It lacks the kind of cowboy, spontaneous, like chaotic quality of season 1.
The fuck me energy.
The fuck me energy of season 1. The statement jackets. All of it. But it's fine. It's serviceable. It's good. It's good. It's fine. And then they got to season 3, and now we're so far removed from season 1. They didn't know what to do except try to recreate the characters that we had in season 1. And that's the best they could do. And anyway, that's my end of rant. We'll go back to the phone call.
End of this rant.
End of this rant. Oh, they're going to come thick and heavy for the rest of Black Buddha, probably.
That's what she said.
This conversation's actually kind of heartbreaking because he's talking to not Skanky, but the phone. And he says, I think we can all survive a week without you. Just call me when you get there. Okay? Which is really sweet and really sad because they're bros.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be like your bro leaving for a week and you being like, hey man, just text me when you get there. Send me some pictures. Let me know how Alberta is. And then we go to Nick in the morgue because he doesn't have anything to do. Skanky's not here to harass. So he goes to harass Natalie. And Natalie's like, I'm just saying, if you want results, you've got to work the program. And he's like, work what program? She's like, everything I've been telling you to do, Nick. You stopped.
For years.
You were taking garlic supplements. You stopped doing that. You were taking vitamin A. I even got you a pill box. Do you know how long you kept that pill box? 1 fucking episode, Nick. And then I made shakes. You never drank the shakes. I gave you fake blood at one point, like synthesized blood. Remember the episode where there was blood bags in his freezer? And he calls it
Vaguely,
non-fat soy vegan blood. No fat, non-flavor soy vegan blood. That's the one where she's like, I can see your reflection in the mirror. And he's like, yeah, sometimes.
Oh, hold on. Is he not supposed to have a reflection, or was that just a joke?
That was in one episode, Father's Day, a father figure. She comes to remove the bullet from his shoulder and it hurts. And they're sitting in his bathroom and she can see him in the mirror and she's like, wow, I can see you in the mirror. And he's like, yeah, sometimes.
Sometimes when there's not a wall in the way.
I can understand why you don't remember that episode. That's the one where he had the blood cask. And he was bottling his own blood.
I remember them sitting in the bathroom. And I remember him going back to the bathroom later because he was screaming because he got blinded because
no,
the
remember
girl
we
opened.
made the crack about because he calls Natalie and I've got something long and hard in my body and I need you to help me take care of it. I'll be over. And she goes over and it's just a bullet. Because remember they get in a drive-by shooting and then he still goes home. He's like, well, that's not going to happen again. And anyway, this isn't about father figure. This is about Black Buddha. But she's basically lecturing him like, you aren't doing anything that I'm telling you to do. And then you're complaining that the thing that you're not doing is not working. And he's like, well, I'm trying really hard.
I've tried nothing and I'm all out of ideas.
I'm all out of ideas. He's like, I can barely keep raw hamburger down. She's like, well, isn't that nice? You couldn't do that before. And he's like, it has been 4 years. And she's like, you are 800 years old. 4 years is nothing. Don't give up on me, Nick. Look, if you want a shot, you got to do it. And he's like, oh, okay, fine. I mean, this is his quest.
Right. He wanted her to help him.
He wanted to do this. But then the phone rings and she picks it up and she's like, oh, it's Joe Reese from this other place, Castle something. And he's like, oh yeah, he's taking over for Cohen. Well, Cohen's gone with Skanky. And so he picks up the phone and says hello. But then we cut to him talking to Reese in the precinct. And they're repainting the precinct. And I can only imagine this is because they moved sets and they couldn't get the exact same color.
I'm imagining the situation where, Nick and Skanky caught this guy. And it's a big fucking deal.
Big fucking deal.
And Cohen's like, all right, Nick and Skanky, we need somebody to escort this guy to like the place
Alberta.
that he has to go
Yeah.
to do whatever justice stuff.
He's getting extradited back to where he committed his original crime. But that's fine. You go. You do this.
And Nick being like, No.
No, I'm not
You
going.
caught him. You caught him. You get, week-long, all expenses paid, trip. Like, the first day, you have to escort this guy. But the rest of it, you just get to hang around and expense everything. And, just enjoy some time traveling and not having to do, like, the regular day-to-day grind. And Nick just being like, no. No travel.
No eat.
No eat. No travel. No plane.
He can't go. He can't go.
Right. He can't. I'm just imagining like what that would have been like.
It was
in
probably
the
more
moment.
like, I think Skanky deserves this. He's the one who really did the
Yes.
collar.
Yeah.
He's the one who should go.
But then Cohen being like, well, we need more than one person because we need to take shifts being the active person monitoring this guy. So, Nick, if you're not going to go, like, who else is going to go? I need a vacation. I'll go.
Right.
And so she volunteers herself.
And the rest is history.
So, I can see
Guilt
why Nick
history.
would feel real guilty.
Yeah, and he obviously caught this bomber using his vampire powers. So he vamp caught this guy who would not have gotten caught had he not used his vampire powers to catch him.
Right.
And then if he hadn't caught him, which he says later, if I hadn't caught him, if I hadn't used the vampire to catch him, he would have gotten away. If I hadn't caught him, Skanky wouldn't have had to be on the plane with him. If Skanky wasn't on the plane with him, Skanky wouldn't have blown up. End of story. And that's when Natalie, but we'll get there because I love how sassy Natalie is in this, and I want to get there, and I want to savor how sassy Natalie is. But Joe is talking, Reese is talking to Nick, and he's like, you collared the bomber. You're basically a hero, and you don't have a partner right now. I think you're the one that needs to do this. And he's like, are you serious? Is this because her dad's a commissioner, a police commissioner? And he's like, maybe you need to just keep her safe.
I wasn't going to bring that up.
I wasn't going to bring
since
that
you
up.
did, you're right. He is.
Basically, all you have to do is keep her from getting hurt for a week. Do you think you can handle that? And Nick's like, I'm not sure you're asking the right person.
Do you know who I am?
Know who I am.
I'm sure my reputation has spread to other precincts.
I'm sure it has. But then they go out to find his new partner, Tracy Vetter, and she's sleeping.
Snoozing in the
And
waiting
she's
room.
like, I'm sorry, I'm more of a day person. Oh, Tracy.
in one of the
Tracy's
strongest
faction-
Canadian accents on this entire show.
Tracy's faction, by the way, if you were a fan of Tracy, you were a percolator.
There was a faction for Tracy.
Yes, there was. So then they go riding in the convertible. They go riding. She's not that bad. She's just not skanky, okay? We can't all be skanky.
That's bad enough
okay.
for
That's-
now.
Yeah. It's like how I feel about Fleur. We can be mad about it. We can be mad about it for a while. And we can be unfair to Tracy for a little bit here. But they go riding in the convertible. And basically, Tracy is just lecturing Nick about how she's not a nepotism baby. Until he's like, well, obviously.
It's just so hard
He's like, well,
having
obviously.
everything handed to me
you
on
know,
a silver platter.
You must have gotten here on your own merit. And she's like, yeah, we all know that's not true.
I am my own person with my own talents, and who my father is
Has nothing to do with where you are in your career.
No, I'm not going to say that. we both know it's a lie. I'd just like to be...
Judged on your own merit?
Exactly. Thank you.
And she's like, but I do want to be judged, for what I do. I don't want to be judged for what my dad does or anything. Like, I want to be a real person. And he's like, okay, it's fine. I get it.
Then you pull a Nicolas Cage.
And change your name.
Change your name so that you are not attached to your father by last name.
Well, she's also in the same, like, she could have moved to another province,
right.
too. Yeah. But anyway, she makes a comment, like, they let you drive this fossil. And he's like, I won't tell anybody if you don't. Everybody knows he drives this.
Everybody knows who drives this.
It's fine. And she goes, see, that's my point exactly, which does not make any sense. It does not make any sense. See, that's my point exactly.
Maybe she's calling out the double standard of his mediocre white man privilege versus her daddy is a police commissioner privilege. And she gets judged for it, and Nick gets celebrated for it.
I mean, he's driving a Cadillac and she got a whole career. I'm not sure that those are apples to apples.
For this Cadillac.
Okay. This Cadillac.
Maybe it's equivalent.
Well, I'm just going to put that right there. I'm just going to, you put a plate.
I'm just putting.
No, it's fine. It's what we do.
Giving you
we set the table, and sometimes we put stuff on it that we don't eat. We just leave it there for other people to eat.
Throw it into twash.
We haven't used that one yet. My son used to say that. I don't want it. Throw it in the trash. All right. So they head to the airport because she's like, where are we going? And he's like, oh, we're just driving around. She's like, keeping me out of harm's way, aren't you? And he's like, maybe. And she's like, well, we're almost all the way to the airport. And he goes, oh, my subconscious must be working overtime because Skanky's plane should be taking off any time now. And she's like, I can't believe you gave up a week in Alberta. And he's like, Skanky did it. He made the collar. And she's like, no, from what I heard, you somehow made it to the end of the block before he did.
Before his car did.
And then scared him off the road and he ran into a wall. And he's like, he panicked. I got lucky. Yeah, he panicked when I showed him my fangs. Maybe he pulled remember the one false witness where he just slowly lowers down in front of the car and the guy runs off. And she's like, well, you could have gone anyway. I mean, why give it up? And he goes, ugh, I hate to fly.
Wink.
And then we're seeing the bomber on the side of the road and he pulls out a cell phone and he ends up dialing something. And in the cockpit, the music box begins to play. And as she's talking on the radio to the air traffic control, she pushes the button to turn the music box off, and the music box blows up.
Boom.
And Nick and Tracy see the explosion in the sky. Oh, but we missed one part. Just before we get to the really dramatic part of this episode. Tracy is asking Nick, why do you have a convertible if you're allergic to the sun? And she goes, aren't you allergic to the sun? Like phototropic or something? Phototropic isn't a thing at all. And it made me realize that Nick just says he has an allergy to the sun. He didn't give it. There are legitimate medical reasons why people can't be out in the daylight.
There is a condition where you actually have an allergy to sunlight.
Yeah. But instead he just wrote it down known allergies. What's the common antibiotic that everybody's allergic to?
Like penicillin?
Amoxicillin. The sun.
he didn't even put sunlight. He just put the sun.
The sun. Garlic. Religious items that have been charged with. Somebody was like, okay.
Sure.
I don't have a box for that, but that's fine.
He had hypnotized them into just entering all the data into the system. But then people scrolling through it I'm just going to see what's in. What was in their application they're hiring paperwork.
He's been there long enough. They've gone from paper files to computer files and then to networked internet files. So every single time they had to re-enter his information, somebody had to type out the sun.
Or at least like on the second transition,
Yeah.
they just had to like review it. But someone would be like, allergies, the sun,
The sun.
faith imbued religious symbols.
Garlic and commitment.
His 4 allergies. And they're like, someone's Johnson, you're pulling a joke on me this time. I'm just not going to react to this one.
That's fine. You know what? It's one like SCP problems. It's nobody else.
Yeah.
It's somebody else's problem. You're like, I don't know. I can't deal with it. Is this guy's a vampire? I don't know. Who cares? But then they see the plane blow up in the sky. So the hardest part is I know Skanky just died, but then we pull back to the full view of Toronto and we see the I am trying to be in this moment and like feel the feels of knowing that one of my favorite characters just died, but the
I know it's like the most like simplistic animations.
I mean, it's the best they could do, right? But I don't know.
An explosion large enough to provide that illumination on the other side of the city. The crater would just be a smoking pile of carbonized whatever was around.
Yeah.
You wouldn't end up with like a baby.
Plus, it blew up. It would just rain pieces.
Right.
It wouldn't rain one chunk.
Well, if the explosion was just in the cockpit, so
I mean, that was a big explosion.
the music, right? That explosion was very large and visible, but the amount of explosive in the music box
could not have been very
thing
much.
would have been enough to like blow out the windows and destroy the control equipment in the cockpit, causing the entire rest of the plane to crash. But it wouldn't have been like a fireball in the sky.
Yeah. So there's a famous case.
Oh, you know what it could be? We could be seeing this with night vision, and that's why it was so bright.
I mean, I hear you. I hear what you're saying. Okay. Well, you know what? I have a lot of cataloged actual airplane crashes that I'm not going to get into right now. Because I was thinking there's actually a case where this plane went down over the Everglades or the like swamp in Florida. And it crashed because the cockpit blew out. But most of the people survived. And that was in the 70s. And if just the cockpit got blown out and the plane itself crashed, there's a chance there would have been more survivors. So I think it's implied that the whole plane just blows
But it depends on the landscape where it lands. If it's in the Everglades, there's water. That's going to like give it a chance to actually like straighten out and just hydroplane for a little bit and absorb some of that energy. But if you're just crashing into like a little like bowl
A
in
single
some hills.
Well, anyway, it happens. Yeah. It happens. The plane explodes and it crashes. And Nick is like, call it in, Tracy. And she's too panicked. And he's like, call it in. And then they pull up next to where it crashed because it wasn't far from the
Airport.
Thank you. I was like, airplane terminal? No. What is the name of this? It wasn't far from the airport. And this set is a really great set. This whole field is like on fire. There's airplane pieces. This was a lot of work. This was an expensive set. Like, it's well done.
Yeah.
And Nick gets out because he hears a baby. And so he's running down this hill. And we're actually chasing after him. Like the cameraman is chasing after him. And he points. There's like a point where he points and
he
goes.
sticks his right arm out.
And he goes, look over there or watch out over there. And it really feels like Garrett was running down this hill and he spotted like a stump or a hole. And he was warning the cameraman, expecting that to get cut out. And it didn't.
Right. They didn't cut the audio.
Because I mean, I guess Tracy's behind him, and this is supposed to be like her POV camera. I don't know, but it's just an odd, like, oh, look over there.
Right. If there had been like 4 or 5 of those comments, like, follow me this way. Oh, there's a hole. Like, watch out there. It would have fit in better.
Yeah.
But it's a solid, like, 15, 20 seconds of following him down this slope. And right at the bottom, he's just like, watch there.
Yeah.
Like, really clearly.
Watch out, hero. So he runs over to this pile of debris and he starts chucking large pieces of
chunks of the airplane around. Like they're.
So if you thought he was going to be more chill in front of Tracy, try again, son. He's going to be up to his usual shenanigans. So he's chucking large pieces of metal around, but it's all in the effort to save a baby because he picks this baby up, which this baby is completely unharmed. It's not even dirty. Which is good. I'm glad the baby lives. So he gives the baby to Tracy. She's like, I can hold her. And then he looks down and there's a ticket stub. And he picks the ticket stub up.
And he recognizes the flight number.
He recognizes the flight number. And he goes, Skanky.
Skanky.
And he like collapses. He drops to his knee. Like, oh my God, my best friend just died. My best friend.
My best mortal friend.
And that woman, God, Cohen, after all the shit she gave Skanky, died at his side. Oof.
Just imagine them walking to that glowing door in the afterlife.
Yeah.
Together.
Why are you following me?
Skanky.
Oh, God. I just can't. This is so... I almost cried during the watch along. I'm not going to lie. I haven't sat and watched the entirety of season 1 and season 2 together and then watched Black Buddha ever. Because when the first time I watched this through, I watched it as a marathon. They had a marathon on Sci-Fi. And in between the episodes, Garrett was doing a special thing where I think he was in the set. And he would give you a little factoid. Oh, when you see me drinking blood, I'm actually drinking this thing called Ribena. And then, whatever. But they played like highlights of season 1. They played highlights of season 2. Then they played Black Buddha. Then they played one episode in season 3. And then they played the series finale. So in one day, I got everything spoiled.
Oof.
I mean, you know me, I don't really care about spoilers.
Well,
but
in fact, you prefer to know the ending.
I do, but it's one of those things where I didn't understand enough about the show to know it was happening when I got to the series finale. But anyway, this was not as impactful because I was not in love with the characters. I was just like, oh, okay, he gets a new partner in season 3. Cool. And then you go through and watch it and you're like, oh my God, they were best friends. And he lost his best friend. And then they're like, here, have a young blonde woman. Take her with you.
That's something LaCroix would do.
And then we put this in here that Skanky dreamed his own death because Nick and Natalie are hugging.
What the fuck is this?
Okay, Nick and Natalie are hugging. And Natalie is selling this. Catherine Disher looks like she's genuinely upset that she's now at John Capellas' death scene. And Nick is like, if I hadn't caught him, if I'd gone. And she's like, listen, you can't think like that. You didn't. You just have to move forward. You don't have the luxury of looking back and feeling guilty about something that you had no control over. And he goes, Skanky dreamed his own death. He dreamed he was standing naked at the end of a bowling alley, and Myra was at the other end holding a giant ball.
Skank had a dream last week. He dreamt his own death. He was standing naked at the end of a bowling alley, and Myra was at the other end holding a big ball. Myra.
Maybe there was more because they then get interrupted by Reese.
I'm wondering I wonder if Gare was ad-libbing the dream
I really
scene.
hope not, because this is such a sad scene. And then we get this really fucking poignant line, like, oh my fucking shit, this is the most poignant line Nick ever says. And Reese is trying to be helpful, but being wildly unhelpful. He's like, I don't know what to tell you, man. Death is going to come for us all. One way or another, we are all going to die. And Nick goes,
It's inevitable, right?
It's inevitable. And Nick goes, I sincerely hope you're right.
For what it's worth, things like this never make sense. We're all gonna die, one way or another. It's inevitable.
I sincerely hope you're right.
And then just turns and walks off. Like, yeah, I really hope death comes for me one day. We can all hope for that, Reese. And then he just leaves. And it is so sad. Like, I have had to stand in the wreckage of the life that I built over and over and over again. And now I am literally standing in the wreckage of a life that I loved. And I know I can never get it back. And the only thing that's going to happen is eventually there will be more distance for me between this moment and the moment I'm currently living. But it's never going to end because I'm never going to end. The only thing I have to look forward to is this happening all over again.
Right. It really like sets the tone of this existence is a curse.
Yeah. So naturally, the best option for Nick at this point is to remember the Titanic. So he goes into his flashback and he's standing. We've looped back. We started at the end where the Titanic was already sinking and he killed that woman. And then we go back to he's just standing at the rail looking out at the ocean. And this woman approaches him. And she's like, I wonder about your lack of discretion, traveling in style like this with mere mortals.
In an extremely forced French accent.
I know, I'm not going to fake it the entire time, but just know this woman is trying to be French so hard. And she goes, I have a fascination for danger. She takes her glass. And I think this is supposed to illustrate how wild and free she is.
Yeet.
She just yeets it off the side. She doesn't even yeet, chuck it. She just holds it out and then goes bloop and drops her glass. And then she's like, see? I know what you are.
See how crazy I am?
Oh,
I'm wild and unpredictable.
I've also sharpened my fingernails into knives because she then slits her wrist with her own fingernail and holds it up for Nick. And this is Nick's moment to go, oh my God, what are you doing? That's so gross.
Let me pull out my handkerchief and cover your wound.
But instead he's like, oh, hello. It's nice to meet you. And she's like, I am Claire Gibson. And then he eats her wrist. He maws her. And then when he picks his head up, he does this lick.
And he has this big glob of blood at the side of his mouth.
I know. And she's like, I need your help. And he says, Nicholas de Brabant. And she goes, I need your help. Okay. And then we go back to the plane scene because Nick is leaving. So he's climbed up the hill. He gets in his car. He drives off. And as he drives off, we see that the bomber is standing there looking at the wreckage, holding his extremely 90s plastic insulated coffee cup.
That fits in the cup holder.
I know. My mom
So
had
he's
one
practical
of these.
too.
He's practical. And then we go back to the flashback again. And this is when she's talking to him about the Buddha, the black Buddha that she has, which Meg said.
Thank you for that pronunciation.
You're welcome. Which Meg said in the watch along kind of looks like they went to Michael's and got some bedazzled jewels.
So while we were watching the watch along, I was Googling about what is a black Buddha? What does it mean? What does a black Buddha mean? And black in Buddhism, Buddhism has a lot of strong associations with colors. And black is related to volatile emotion and killing and anger is one example. So there's some connotations that go along with a color of something associated with Buddhism. And then the Buddha has some associations based on what does the statue look like. If it's like a big, fat, smiling Buddha, it can be associated with prosperity. But if it's a skinnier Buddha, it can be associated with like sacrifice or, self-denial or whatever. Anyway, we see this. She has this statue.
The Black Buddha.
Of a Black Buddha.
The Black Buddha. And she goes, it's said that a great curse or a great misfortune will fall on anyone who removes it from its temple. But I believe that is the standard curse they put on these things. And she goes, I paid $1 million for it, which would be $31 million today. And she's like, well, you can have it. It's yours because it has the power to grant one wish. And you are my wish because when we arrive in New York, I will be immortal.
I did not understand what she said until
Immortal.
Rachel explained it to me.
Immortal. She's going to be immortal. She's going to be a vampire. Immortal. She's going to be a vampire. Obviously. And then we go back to the plane. And Tracy is walking along behind Reese. And she looks down just in time to see this corpse blink. And she's like, what? I think we got a live one. And Reese kicks him. She's like, no, that's dead.
This is the only humanoid body in any piece or form that we've seen other than the baby.
Yeah.
So either they didn't want to go to the trouble of making props for a bunch of...
No, you can't. Not on broadcast television in the 90s. You could not have that. You can have gore on a living person, but you can't have a bunch of dead bodies lying around. So Reese literally walks over, pokes him with his toe. I mean, he leans down, but he's like, boop.
He touches his face.
He goes, he's cold. He's dead.
Yeah, he touches his cheek with his hand.
He says he's got no pulse.
Yeah, but he doesn't actually check his
It's
pulse.
fine. He didn't wait the 10 minutes it takes for them to have one heartbeat. It's perfectly fine. And so as they walk off, Vashon takes this moment to hop up and yeet off into the woods. Okay. And so Nick is riding around doing the only thing he knows will make him feel better, which is listening to the Nightcrawlers podcast. And it's Lacroix saying, who knows death better? The dead guy or the people left behind who have to smell his decomposition?
Who knows the pain of death better? He who gasps its final breath? Or those of us who must breathe the foul air of his decomposition? Which bears the greater burden? The cold bones of the dead man in his coffin? Or the spine of the pallbearer carrying his load? No one knows this burden better than we. Dear listener, we who have seen so many paths.
And whose bones bear the greater load? The man in the casket or the spine of the pallbearer who is carrying him?
I'm just imagining Lacroix in his, new, podcasting studio.
Yeah.
Or he's out in the bar and he's like, hold on, I sense a disturbance in the force. Nick is having a strong emotion. I need to get on the radio right now and pontificate about it. He's receptive to my
This is my moment.
Rambling right now. I need to get him when he's emotionally sensitive.
Yes. And we follow
so
him.
So Lacroix runs to the back of the bar.
I gotta go.
Gets in his little room.
Down. Slams his glass down.
End of the business meeting. Stripper, put your clothes back on. I have important business to do.
I gotta record. Or does he have a whole bunch of lectures just queued up, and all he has to do is go back and just hit play?
Oh yeah, he just got to pull out the cassette.
No, he's got a little sticky note on each one. Unexpected death. Unexpected theft of money, unexpectedly complicated case, mommy issues, daddy issues, Natalie issues. He just has to.
So that he doesn't even necessarily have to do it. He can be like, whatever your name is.
Hit play on the one labeled death. Yeah. Go.
Go, quick. He's receptive right now.
But he must be long because it goes all the way from him being in the car to him getting home. The sun is up and he's like standing in the one little corner because we've moved his stairs. His stairs are now in a different location. His loft is configured slightly different. And he's standing in the one little corner where there's no sunlight. And he ends up pushing the blinds to lower them as Lacroix is saying, what weighs you down? Is it the would've, should've, could've game called guilt? Oof. And then the next day, Nick goes back to the precinct and he's talking to Reese and he's like, so was it a bomb?
So, since you mentioned...
You made the rewind motion with your hands, so.
Since you mentioned they moved the stairs in his apartment.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they did.
I think we threw around the idea that between season 2 and 3, they had to like tear down the set where his apartment was and then rebuild it. We know that Gare still has the mantle.
Yeah.
So at the end of season 2, when they're tearing down the set, does Gare say like, hey, I want to keep that?
It's the same mantle.
I leaned on it a lot. So I'm going to take that home.
It's the same mantle, though.
Well, I
okay.
know.
All right. Sorry.
And then season 3 starts. They're like, hey, it got renewed for a 3rd season. We're rebuilding the set for Nick's apartment. Gare, we need the mantle back. I don't want to. It's installed in my wall. I can't just rip it out of the wall.
There wasn't as big of a gap. There wasn't enough of a gap for them to have to do that. I think they did
I'm just imagining Garrett
I think
in
they
his
did it
home.
For filming purposes. Okay, go ahead.
I'm just imagining Garrett in his home doing monster hands and ripping the mantle out of the wall of his house and carrying it back to the studio. You can have it back.
He only plays a vampire, right? Yeah. He only plays a vampire. Let's just say we don't need to spend a lot of money on the flying scenes.
Maybe that's why he didn't like the flying scenes, because it was hard for him to go along with the
go on a wire,
the special effects stuff.
It would make a lot of sense. It would make sense as to why neither Meg nor I can still remember meeting him. Really fucking wild.
And we only saw him at night.
We did only see him. And then as soon as he came out the door, nothing. Gone. Just in complete standby mode. So weird. That does not happen to me.
It's because you stood next to him and got your picture taken. That's when he did it.
I don't know. Meg and I can only remember when he comes out and goes, hi, I'm Gare. And that's it. I've got nothing until I said where we were from, but didn't clarify. And so he had to look to you to finish the sentence. And then I remember him signing the posters because I was mildly embarrassed about the posters. And then I remember the photo because I thought he was going to do hover hand and he did not. He grabbed my shoulder. And so the amount of physical contact snapped me out of standby mode. And then I remember being like, we need to let this man go before he feels like we're being weird. And then I was like, okay, so thank you for your time. And he was like, yeah, great. Thanks. It was nice meeting you guys. I went back to the party. And that's it. I know you talked to him. I know somebody said we had a podcast. Kind of. I can't. It's so weird. But anyway.
If Garrett is actually a vampire?
Yes. Yeah. It would make sense.
Yeah, it would fit.
So anyway, we go back to the precinct. And Nick is talking to Reese. And he's like, was it a bomb? And Reese is like, listen, I can't. That's not even. Please give me a fucking break here, Nick. He's like, it's out of our hands. It's the ABC, the CDF, the FDG, the GGG, the whatever. All of the letters are over this right now. And, maybe the accomplice wanted Dollar dead. And we're getting reamed for having tried to move him on public transport. There's a lot going on here that's bigger than you right now. And he follows him all the way into his office, and Reese turns around and he's like, do I have a door on this office?
Does this office have a door or not? Oh, Nick, cut me some slack here. I know I'm new at this, but listen to me just a little, huh?
Yeah, and you didn't close it, Reese.
Nick does not respond. Nick just stands there get used to it. And then
This is your new normal.
and he looks over, and Cohen's pictures that she had up on her desk are just in a box.
Reese has already cleared Cohen's desk.
I don't think we're supposed to like Reese.
Yeah.
I honestly think he's supposed to start out as an unlikable character because he has already cleared Cohen's desk off. He is already talking to the commissioner and being like, oh, thank you so much, sir. Like, I'm so glad to have gotten this position. Not being like, oh, I'm really sorry about the way I got this or whatever. It's a very much like, I've played my cards right and now an opening has appeared. And of course I'm going to get it because I'm political and I suck up. He even says it. He goes, so I suck up. Everybody does it. And Cohen's name's still on the door.
Yeah.
Like, he is already making himself at home. And I'm not even certain he's officially gotten the position yet.
Right.
Because it's not until Nick comes in to listen to the tape that he congratulates him for being appointed captain.
Yeah. Congratulations, Captain.
Yeah. But he's like, Nick, you're supposed to be taking the week off. You're not even supposed to be here. At least Tracy has the sense to take the time off when I give her the time off. And he does this look like, yeah, she's taking the time off. Which ends up being mildly prophetic because Tracy is not taking the time off. Tracy is heading to the airplane scene, which everything's been moved into a warehouse so that they can identify the bodies.
Yeah. Standard
And
procedure.
She walks up and he's like, got to see your ID. So she pulls her ID out. She gets let in. Nick is right behind her because as soon as she walks off, his arm extends from off screen holding his wallet. And the guy's like, closed to Metro. And he's like, she just got through. Yeah, well, she was with the commission. And so he leans forward and he's like, boom, 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 boom. So am I. The guy's like, oh, of course, sir. Totally missed that. And then he follows her in and he's like, Tracy, is this Tracy? I will never use my dad for my own gain better.
She's like, you weren't supposed to notice.
She's like, I'm checking on the baby. How did you get in here anyway? And he goes, a few well-chosen words. And then Natalie walks over and she was like, no, this is not where you need to be. And Nick just hugs her. He's like, quick, distract her. Distract her with physical contact. And so he, I don't think he hugs her. I think he just, leads her off screen. And Tracy turns around and she's looking at the board that only has 3 pieces of paper on it. And it's 2 women who they haven't found and a J.D. Valdez who doesn't even have a picture. He's just in his mid-20s, resident of Toronto, heading off who knows where. But up on the board are the pictures of Cohen and Skanky.
The only thing that Nick can look at.
With the identified yes or no, yes checked. Which means Natalie had to identify Cohen and Skanky's bodies. Cohen and Skanky, who she worked with every day for years, they couldn't call another coroner in to work on this?
Nope. No Metro police.
I mean, they called another coroner in when her goddaughter was killed.
Yeah, but that wouldn't serve to add cheap conflict to the
It's
plot.
just sad. It's just sad. I mean, I don't know. Maybe she wanted to be the one that did it.
Maybe. Yeah, she could have volunteered.
But as they're leaving, Tracy actually sees a shadow move across the wall. And so as they're walking out the door, Tracy's like, hey, I think I forgot my keys. She's not like, I think there's an intruder in there. And I think we all need to go after him and get him. Because
why does she have to feel like why does she feel like she has to play the hero?
We suspect this might be a bombing. Why would you not assume that the bomber would show up to do something?
Right. If the plane has been moved here, this is now the scene of the crime.
Right.
And we always say they always return to the scene of the crime.
Well, she just automatically is like, this is something I need to check out on my own and not tell anybody about or tell anybody where I'm going or anything.
Which is rookie bullshit.
I mean, it's not great. But Natalie starts crying. She's like,
it doesn't look good on her.
What doesn't look good on her?
Oh,
the rookie bullshit. Oh, I thought you were talking about Natalie crying.
No.
I was like, don't even. We already did Skanky dirty. You don't get to do Natalie dirty.
No.
She's crying because she's like, nothing could get me to go back in there. It was a bomb. And Nick's like, it was a bomb. And she's like, yeah, it was a bomb. Like, we're for sure confirmed it was a bomb. And we cut back to Tracy because Tracy has found somebody. And instead of calling anybody in for backup, knowing that there's 2 people waiting for her, she's like, freeze, put your hands up. And then Vashon's like, oh, you people. Is you people really say that? It's like that game that kids play, Statue or whatever. She's like, can you just turn around and put your hands up? And he goes, that's going to be real hard because the lost one in the crash. And he like puts his hands up and he's holding one hand and he's got a stump on the other side.
Ugh.
But Nick must take Natalie back to his house to like relax her and help her unwind by telling her that he's responsible for Skanky and Cohen's deaths because he owns a statue of a black Buddha. And
The cultural appropriation.
And Natalie's like, oh yeah, this is really pretty. I learned about it in one of those documentaries about the Titanic. What? I want to see that one. And Nick goes, yeah, it's supposedly in the ship's safe. And she's like, hang on, you think the Titanic sank because of the curse?
The Black Buddha.
And then we cut to another little
flashback.
Thank you. And this is the one where we see the lamp plugged in the background. I mean, she's talking about blah, blah, blah. It's cursed, blah, blah, blah. That's why the Titanic is sinking, blah, blah, blah. But were there outlets on the Titanic? I Googled a little bit, and yes, some of the higher end cabins would have one outlet for like a lamp or a table fan. But if you were in steerage, you only got electric lights.
Okay.
So, yes, I'm sure they made sure that was period appropriate before they included that in the background. But my favorite part about this scene is Natalie is having none of Nick's bullshit. She's like, I'm sorry. Are you telling me that my friends died because you own this statue? And he's like, yeah, that's what I'm trying to tell you. And she's like, I'm sorry, but that is bullshit. It is absolute bullshit.
You don't understand. I thought you were the wish that the Buddha granted. I thought your work, what we were doing.
Oh, well, that makes me feel fabulous. The Buddha is working its magic through me. That just sends thrills right up my spine.
Natalie, please.
Stop it, Nick. You want to believe in black...
Why did you even keep it? And he was like, well, I was waiting for my wish, and I thought you were my wish.
Here's the like better version of this conversation that happened in my head.
Okay.
Is when Natalie's like, scolding him for you're an idiot. And
Are
him
you
being like
serious right now?
Well, I'm sorry, I was just that's what I thought was gonna happen. and then him being like, I was born before the scientific revolution. Can you please give me a little slack for the fact that my entire
way of thinking,
mental processes and my worldview were shaped and solidified before all of this science stuff happened? That was how you explained things. And I'm trying really hard to be more scientific about my worldview, but it's been hundreds of years.
And I'm a fucking vampire.
Yeah.
Do you know how hard it is to not believe in magic when you are a magical creature?
So cut me some slack,
You
Natalie.
cut me some slack, Natalie. That's fair. Those are all really relevant points. They're really good. But I can also see Natalie.
Put on your context lenses.
Yeah, that's fair. Natalie doesn't have a very good set of context lenses, but she does make a good point because he's like, I thought the Buddha sent you to me. And she's like, oh, I'm acting on behalf of the Buddha. Okay, that
I can
makes
feel
me
the magic working.
That makes me feel real fucking great, Nick. Is that why you don't drink my smoothies? Because the Buddha's going to fix you? All I have to do is be present? God, I'm so fucking over this. I'm going home. She's like, I'm really tired. And he's so stressed out about this conversation that he has a flashback. And he's like, I could still bring you across. I could do that. That's fine. And then we just fly. We don't have to fly off. We can go under the water. This is established.
This is canon.
I can propel myself through any medium. It's fine. If we go deep enough, we can even keep travel during the day. So it's going to be great. And she's like, would you like to live a life with 1,000 deaths on your head? Yeah, That's actually,
He's done that a bunch.
yeah, it's like, that's yesterday. I don't know what you're talking about. Like, yeah, I have killed, if you do the math, he could have killed somewhere in the neighborhood of 200,000 people at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not including the last 100 years where he didn't kill anyone, but maybe he did because it looks like he lied. I don't know. So yeah, he knows exactly what it's like to live with 1,000 deaths on your conscience. Yeah. It's going to leave that there. She didn't think that through, I don't think. And then we get to this kind of funny scene. This is what I'm talking about. I think Tracy and Vashon could work if you didn't know what you lost.
Yeah.
If you didn't know what you lost, this is a funny little scene because
if you weren't
Vashon is
aware
driving,
of what this is replacing.
right, because Vashon is driving, and I got to admit, Vashon's a bit of a hipster prick because he's like, "Oh, did your parents buy you this car?" And she's like, "What are you talking about?" And he's like,
Did you pick this one out yourself?
I bet it gets great gas mileage." Like, what the fuck, Vashon? You don't even own a car. Get out of here. You have to have her buy you clothes at Goodwill, which you're about to ask her to do. So I need you to stop being a little judgy bitch. Okay.
Oh yeah, and she says that he has, what is it? No known means of support.
Yeah, and he's
which
like,
means he's unemployed.
Yeah. Do I look like a slacker to you? Is what he says. But she goes, "Your hand," and he goes, "Yeah, all better." And he goes, "Your face." And he says, "Can you try starting a sentence with a different word?" And she goes, "My gun." And he goes, "There's one." And he just takes the gun and hands it to her. And then he has looked at her ID, so he knows who she is. And so he's like, he tries to hypnotize her. He's like, "You're going to take me to get some clothes, and then we're going to buy another plane ticket, and then I'm going to be out of here. Okay, cool." And she's like, "No, I don't know what you're talking about." Because, of course, Tracy is a resistor. And then we get...
Is that a name?
Yeah, it means you can't be hypnotized. Natalie's a resistor. Maybe I just can't be hypnotized. Yeah. So we get back to Lacroix because Lacroix, he turned the tape over from side A to side B so it could keep talking about death. He's like, "There once was a man with a suitcase full of guilt."
There was a young man with a suitcase of guilt that weighed his immortal life down. He just couldn't see. All it took to get free was to drop it and get out of town.
And he didn't realize that all he had to do to get free was just drop it and get out of town.
And this is not Nick.
This is, oh yeah. But then
Yeah,
Nick goes to the Raven because he's lost and he needs to talk to Jeanette. And he walks up to the bar and he's like, "Where's Jeanette?" And the guy's like, "Who?" And he's like, "Jeanette, where's fucking Jeanette?" And he's like, I don't know what you're talking about, man." He leaves. And then Lacroix comes out and Lacroix's like, "Nick, you should come by more often." Yeah, Jeanette's gone, like gone. Like woo,
gone.
Like ain't coming back gone. Like she'd been here 20 years and she's out of here. Sold me the club. She's gone. And oh, do you like what I did with the place? No, Lacroix. Nobody likes what you did with the place. There is a half-naked man in silver booty shorts dancing in the background, okay? And there's a live band for some reason, which is perfectly fine. But the number of just ridiculous costumes loitering about this room, plus the bar is covered with glasses full of like different colored liquid. Nobody's drinking them. They're just all on the bar. It's like he read about a club and he was like, "I think I can make this better if I just add blackjack and hookers." I mean, I'm sorry, that's a inappropriate reference, but it's from Futurama. Blackjack and sex workers. That's what we're going to put in here. He says, "Sex is back. We even have a stripper on Fridays. And I record from my pod lab in the back." Isn't that nice, Nick?
It's so convenient.
Yeah. And this is really Nick's like, "Ain't you tired, boss?" episode. The like, haven't you seen enough suffering? Haven't you watched enough of your friends die here? Aren't you ready to start fresh and leave? And Lacroix actually gives us a really poignant line here where he's like, the only time that it feels like a burden and you start to feel that loneliness is when you stay too long. And so if that's what you're feeling right now, it's probably your time to move on too.
Yep.
And then we cut to Tracy and Vashon because we have to establish Vashon as the sexy thirst trap version of
they try so hard
of the vampire character because he's taking a shower, which he did not
hold on.
bother to shut the door.
She is not hypnotized but she still
Took him
brought this strange man
because he said he knew something about the crash.
to her apartment.
Listen, Tracy, is not. If there were a bunch of sharp pencils, Tracy wouldn't be the sharpest, okay? And if there were a lot of bright crayons, she might not be on the brightest end of the spectrum, okay? Tracy is not skanky. She is curious and inquisitive, but I would not label her as, like, suspicious or skeptical. She very much takes things at face value. She does try eventually to become a little bit more like hard-boiled detective, but it's never going to work. That's why her group was the Percolators, because she's just like perky and bubbly and the perky, bubbly Barbie detective. I don't know what to tell you. This is what you're in for, okay? Yes, she took this strange man home who she has not yet to tell anyone about, even though she found
just
him.
Disappeared.
Yeah, she just dipped. Nobody even knows where she is or what's going on. And she took this man back to her apartment. Well, she's got a gun, I guess. I don't know. Maybe that's what she's hoping for. Even though she's seen him reattach one of his hands, which she remembers him doing.
Right.
So,
because she's not getting hypnotized.
Yep. But he comes out and he's got like, he first is taking a shower without shutting the door. And then he comes out and he's got the like chest hair happy trail combo going on. And he's like gently toweling his mullet.
Just the hair.
The hair. Oh, God. And she's like, I bet you're a dead ringer for J.D. Valdez. And he goes, good choice of words, Trace. And she goes, okay, tell me about the crash. Because theoretically, that's why she brought him back to her house. And he's like, no time. Gotta go. And she's like, wait a minute. How will I find you? So you can tell me more about it. And he goes, too dangerous. You don't find me.
I'll find you.
I find you. Like, undoes her hair. He reaches really awkwardly behind her head and undoes her hair clip, but her hair is so short it doesn't actually change the silhouette of her hair.
Right.
What they're going for is he's hungry and he's covering up her neck. That's what they're going for. But since this just kind of doesn't, I don't know. But then we get like he leans in to kiss her, and then he leans a little farther in, and she actually tells him to stop. She goes, Vashon, stop. And that's when he does the like, I'm a vampire thing. And then leaves
Just
back.
for the viewer.
And he's like, okay, sorry, Tracy, gotta go. And he leaves. And then we come it back to the precinct because Nick is on this. He's like a dog with a bone. Of course he is. His best friend just died. And he's got to know why. He has to know why. So he's listening to this tape and he can hear this music box and he's trying to tell Reese about it. And Reese is like, Cohen may have let you get away with this shit, but those days are over.
Enough, okay? Now look, maybe Cohen would let you go off on tangents like this, but I'm not. Taxpayers pay for this. I'm not going to have this guy logging hours on a dead issue that's out of our jurisdiction. Clear?
Clear.
I'm not about this anymore. This is why I don't think we're supposed to like Reese.
Right, because he's pushing back against Nick.
He's immediately trying to rein in Nick. He's like, this man is getting paid by the tax dollars. You are keeping him overtime. That's ridiculous. He just needs to go. You need to go. Why are you here anyway?
Right. The feds have been all over this.
Yeah. If they didn't find anything, you're not going to find anything.
And so Nick is like, Reese says, why are you even here? Like GTFO.
Yeah.
And Nick is like, oh, I just thought I'd clean out Skanky's desk before the funeral. And I was thinking, Nick probably always has like an excuse or like a plausible
I do
story.
think that's why he was there. But yeah.
Oh, yeah, he was. Oh, no, I think he was there. Like his primary purpose was to poke around and see what more he could investigate about the plane crash.
And also empty the desk.
But also empty the desk just as his cover story.
And goddamn if he doesn't pull out the Partners of the Month plaque.
They kept the props.
Oh, God. Just stab me in the fucking heart.
And the bowling photo.
Ugh. It made me want to get one of those Partners of the Month plaques made and put it up in the pod lab. I'm not going to lie. I was like, can I get that made at a trophy shop? Probably. But Reese is our most political captain. We had Stone Tree, who was just like the stoner bro dude who ended up becoming captain. for some reason. And then we had Cohen, who was the like, I had a high ranking position in like the FBI and now I'm here and I have too much experience for you to reasonably make me a beat cop, but I don't want to do anything else. So, okay, let's make me a captain. And then we have Reese, who is there because he has maneuvered his way into that position. He's not a bad captain, as we'll find out. He actually gets he gets more depth than Cohen does because it's the 90s and we know how to write male characters. We don't know how to write female characters. But right now, I think he's supposed to feel like something that is driving Nick away. Everything is supposed to feel like something that's driving Nick away.
Yeah.
And wouldn't you know, it works because Nick is like, you know what? Fuck this. I'm done. And he hands Reese his resignation.
Right, yeah. He walks into the office and Reese is on the phone schmoozing with the commissioner.
Yeah.
And he's like, you know, I suck up. Everybody sucks up. And
Nick's like, okay.
Nick hands him a paper.
I'm done. And he goes, what's this? And he goes, I'm resigning, effective immediately.
Too many changes, not getting enough back.
Not enough coming back.
Yep. Which is what the line that Reese had just used when he got the chocolates. And of note is Nick turns in his badge, but Nick does not turn in a gun.
No, he does not. He has one.
He has
he
one.
Pulls it.
Is it his personal firearm?
He may have just left it in his desk.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then Tracy comes in because Tracy didn't listen to Vashon at all. Or maybe she did and it was just like, I think he's trying to tell me to go find him. Maybe he's playing hard to get because she looks him up on the computer and somehow his last known address is an abandoned church. And I think Meg mentioned on the watch along, she's like, how do you have your last known address be an abandoned church? Did a social worker walk by? Noted down?
You got assigned to a social worker and the social worker like asked you what your address was to check up on you.
Yeah.
Or whatever. And that was the address.
Right. Because if he owned the church, it would not be abandoned.
Right.
I don't know. But this is another one of my favorite shots because Natalie comes in and Natalie is wearing this banging like light dusty rose colored power suit. She looks amazing in these 2 episodes. Everybody looks amazing. Everybody. Nick looks so good in his black. Finally, he's not wearing a vest. Thank you fucking Jesus. The vests were fine, but they age him up. Okay. Yeah. And so when we put him back in this
and he's like super clean shaven.
Yeah. He's like,
which we have not seen since season 1.
No mullet, haircut. He's clean cut. He's got a black like suit, shirt, jacket, pants on. He looks fucking amazing. Natalie looks amazing. And she shows up and the door slides open. And as it's sliding open, the camera pans back and we see that Nick is sitting at the piano playing music and everything in his apartment is packed up or covered.
Yep. Covered in white sheets. Like it's going to be there for a while.
And
what's his face is going to take a while to move his
Felix
stuff around.
Sure. Felix Twist.
Felix. Yeah.
And then, but I mean, just this scene is so poignant because Natalie's just standing there and the only music is what Nick is playing on the piano. And she walks over to the piano and she's like, the actual fuck, Nick. And he's like, well, I found it in the past. It was better if I just leave. And she's like, I had to find out from a desk sergeant. Do you know how that makes me feel?
And shame on you, Nick, for not telling Natalie.
Shame. And she is there to pull no punches. He has fucked around, and she is here to help him find out. Because she's like, oh, you thought this was going to be better? You mean better for you? Because when you leave, guess who still gets hurt? Me. And guess who's still out there hurting people? The bomber that killed Skanky and Cohen. Oh, but you don't care about that, do you? Because you're just going to run away and feel sorry for yourself.
Yes.
Well, you're not. Oh, there is a Black Buddha. I firmly believe that. And he did kill Skanky and all those other people, as sure as I'm standing here. But you are not that man. And he's out there. He's crazy, and he will probably kill again. Oh, but wait a minute. That won't matter to you, will it? Because you will be off starting a new life somewhere. Feeling sorry for yourself. Running.
Natalie.
No.
That's real fucking mature, Nick. You know what? I'm not mad. I'm disappointed. Because I thought you were better than this, and it turns out you aren't. So I'm out. And Nick is like, Natalie, please. And she's like, you know what? This isn't a debate. I'm not here to discuss this.
I could just see Nick sitting there, like, tearing up, feeling like, Natalie, I can't believe you used the D word.
You're disappointed? And she's like, no, don't even. This, I think you'll find I'm done. We're done. And I'm leaving. And I'm gone. Have a nice running away.
Bye, Nicklisha.
But then we go to Tracy because Tracy's at the church. And she has to climb up the stairs. I don't know how this church functions. Somehow the stairs go up to the church, but I don't know. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. And she goes in to find Vashon, but it's not Vashon.
She goes in with no flashlight.
Yes.
And there's a light downstairs, but there's no lights upstairs.
Alone, without telling anybody where she's going. I mean, she leaves it up on the computer because Reese sees it. But
right, maybe that's like how she's been trained. Like, oh yeah, you just leave it up on your computer screen.
Well, you know what? This is what happens when Daddy gets you your job.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
So she ends up going into the church, and the Inca is there, and the Inca is like, "Donde está Vashon?" Okay. Which, thank you at least for making him speak not English, I guess. Although somehow he hasn't changed his tunic in 500 years because he's still dressed vaguely Hispanic, but he's not. He's
Central
Incan.
American.
He would not be speaking Spanish if he's speaking the language. If he's supposed to be speaking the language he spoke, he'd be speaking Quechua, I think is how you say it, which is the Incan language.
Right.
Instead, he's demanding information from her in Spanish, which we don't know if Tracy speaks. So she's just like,
got here.
I don't know what you're
we
saying.
We find out
man.
later he's like 500 years old.
Yeah.
He got here, and he's been around for hundreds of years. He should know better.
What he should probably do is just go be a translator, because which one of them has one that we have not translated yet? Is that the Mayan or the Incan? There's one of those South American cultures that has a specific type of rune that we have not translated yet. I'm going to look that up. Yeah, he would be speaking Quechua, which actually is not an extinct language, but it is a dying language. And I looked it up, and I was right. There is a civilization that has a system of writing that we have not deciphered, but it's the Minoans, which are not the Incans at all. They have linear A and linear B. We've translated linear B, but not linear A. The Incans actually didn't have a written language. They had strings with knots in them.
Oh, yeah. I've heard about that.
Although we think they may have had a secret language spoken by kind of the upper echelon of the society around Lake Titicaca, which is where Vashon and the Inca have their mighty showdown of the gods. Yep. Fine. Oh, you know what? Nick is at his apartment, mulling over Natalie's harsh words. And Reese calls him. And he actually has his phone over on a box over by the window. So he picks the phone up and he's talking to Reese because Reese is like, hey, so I know you quit. I feel like something my mom would do. Oh, hey, I know.
But I need your help.
I know you're not actually in charge of this or involved in it or know anything about it at all, but I have a question. Do you think you could answer it for me? Yeah, sure, it's fine. And he's like, Tracy ran off to go find this guy named J.D. Valdez. Valdez, whatever. Does that ring a bell to you? And he's like, yeah, he was one of the missing bodies from the plane. Like, he was in the airplane, but we don't know what happened to him. And then next season,
we see a flash of light through Nick's window.
And Reese is like, what was that? And Nick's like, I see it. It's the 23rd precinct. I can see it right here from my window. And then he hears the music box.
For context, this precinct that they worked in season 1 was the 27th precinct.
Yeah. And now they're in the 96th.
Right. So it was the 23rd precinct.
Yeah.
Which was not his old precinct.
So Stonetree didn't die. You know how much of a shit thing that would have been to be like, oh my God, that was the 27th precinct. Stonetree. God.
if they'd kept track of the details, they would have done it.
You think so?
Those assholes.
After this episode, I believe everything. But then he hears the music box music. And he's like...
Over Reese's phone.
And he's like, what is that? And Reese is like, what the fuck you talking about? Because Nick was trying to tell him, like, I hear a music box in the background of the black box.
Right before
recording.
the bomb.
Right. Yeah, I hear it. And still Reese is like, what are you talking about? What? And he's like, where is that music coming from? And he goes, it's coming from the chocolates that I got given. And Nick is like, don't touch that box. And he goes, Nick, I've cut my hand on a piece. I want to stop a moment and address this chocolate box. Where are the explosives hiding in this chocolate box?
So plastic explosives are, well, some of them are kind of like Play-Doh. They don't have to be like compressed into a cylinder or a sphere. So you could like roll it out flat.
Yeah.
And make a flat sheet
But
and connect the detonator to it.
But it's still not very much because it's just
it wouldn't be much. It would be enough to like blow out the windows in the room.
Yeah.
With some fire and shit.
Yeah. Which I guess it does. Maybe the other places got bigger. No, we saw all the chocolate boxes.
Right.
Because
so
we saw them
I
all
was
stacked
thinking
up.
the bomber went for like the $15 box of chocolates that you find at like the pharmacy, like convenience store, and installed a bomb with a music box. There's not enough room between the like plastic tray that holds the chocolates and the cardboard box to hold a music box. But maybe that's just another sign of his genius at music box bomb making. Bomb making.
Yeah, because he also had to put the little music playing thing in there.
Right. So I was thinking he should have gone for like the $100 box of chocolate that's in like a wooden box, and the weight, it'd be easier to hide the weight of a bomb inside of that box because the box would be so heavy, and you'd have more space to hide the music mechanism. Anyway, it's not completely believable that there's a like music playing mechanism inside of this box of chocolates.
Yeah.
As well as a bomb, and like the weight felt fine for a box of chocolates.
Correct. It's even floppy because at one point he hands it out to Tracy and it's like flopping over in the corner like a cheap box of chocolates does. Yeah. And that's when Tracy tells him, no thanks, my dad doesn't like chocolate. He thinks it acts like a germ collector in your throat.
Nobody actually says that.
What, Tracy?
Come on, James Parriott.
Your dad is a police commissioner, and he thinks that chocolate makes germs gather in your throat?
That actually sounds about right.
Oh, yeah. All right. Well, anyway, Nick is talking to him, and he's like, don't touch it. And he's like, my hand's already on a piece. And Nick goes, vacate the building, call the bomb squad. I'm on my way. And then he's at the precinct, and Reese goes, how did you get here? You just got off the phone with me. And Nick goes, I flew. And Reese goes, what? And he's like, okay, I'm gonna put my hand on this piece, and then I need you to go. And Reese is like, what? No, this was addressed to me. Like, I'm the one who's gonna take this. And Nick is like, yeah, you have a wife and you have kids, and I have no one, and I'm gonna survive this. I mean, I'm gonna do this, okay? And he actually gives him
one for the team.
He gives him a little hypnotic push. Like, this way I can disappear and Natalie won't know I've just fled. She'll think I died instead. It's a win-win for me, Reese.
Except she's seen what happens to him when he gets blown up by a pipe bomb.
But there is a chance that could kill him.
Yeah.
I mean, if it severed his head, he would die. If shrapnel in the shape of a wooden stake went through his chest, he would die. So there is a chance it could kill him. It just is not as likely. He's not going to die from gross bodily harm in the same way a human would.
Right.
Or what's the thing where a bomb actually makes your internal organs explode? It's like a concussion effect.
Okay.
Where it's not always.
I haven't heard like a technical name for that.
Oh, there's a name for it, but they talk about it in World War Z. And it's not actually like the heat or the whatever. It's the concussion force of the air displacement from the explosion. It just shuts your body down.
Blast-induced neurotrauma? Or
Yeah.
blast injury?
Barotrauma.
Baro for pressure.
Yeah. It's due to compressive, expansive forces leading to the overstretching of tissues.
Gotcha.
And it's the differential between a surrounding gas or fluid and an unvented body cavity. So the pressure around you rises really fast, and you get like a
shockwave.
A shockwave, yeah, inside your body. I knew it had a name. It's probably why I'm on somebody's watch list somewhere. But anyway,
just imagine all the FBI agents that have to listen to all our podcasts.
I hope they're having a real good time. You know what? I really hope they are. But he ends up trading places with Reese. He's like, this is something I need to do. And so Reese gets up and he does hesitate. He's like, Nick, are you sure? And he's like, yeah, get the fuck out of here. So he leaves reluctantly. Meanwhile, the Inca has Tracy. And it's just continuing to... Actually, at this point, she shot him. He turned into a vampire. And now he is floating in the middle of the church.
Carrying her
and continuing to demand in Spanish that she tell him where Vashon is.
Read the room.
She's like,
we know we find out he speaks English later.
Yeah. Maybe he's real keyed up right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe he thinks she's close enough with Vashon that she speaks Spanish. But maybe. Vashon doesn't ever speak. I don't know. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I think we need a t-shirt that just says, it's fine. This isn't that television show. And it's fine. This isn't that movie. Yeah. It's fine. This isn't that television show. But Natalie does arrive at the precinct as Reese is leaving. And she's still in her like hot as fuck pink power suit. And Reese like pulls her away and we get the like, no, Nick, like, are you going to be okay? And then Nick does this like eye widening thing, like, he lets go of the chocolate and jumps out the window. And then we see kaboosh, the big explosion.
Yeah, the flame follows him out the window.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Tracy gets saved by Vashon because Vashon flies in and sticks the Inca. Oh my God, I just realized how much of a parallel this is to Dark Knight. Because that's what Nick does in the butcher in the slaughterhouse. He sticks him on the wall. Oh God. So he sticks him on a candelabra.
This is like episode 7 of Star Wars.
And hang on. And Tracy is like Elise, except Elise that doesn't get turned into a vampire and then just disappear completely from the fucking plot forever.
Yeah.
Tracy gets to like be a part of the vampireness.
Yeah.
Wow.
But just like almost plot beat for plot beat, The Force Awakens is a plot beat for plot beat reproduction of
A New Hope.
A New Hope.
Well, I mean, if the formula works. Plus, we're reestablishing Vashon as our hot young vampire character. And we're reestablishing Nick as our mad daddy energy vampire, which we will find out.
He's our daddy vampire.
Oh, so soon. Oh my God. This is when Vashon turns around and he's got like vamp eyes and he like picks Tracy up and he just stares in her eye with the contact. You may not know where he's looking depending on how opaque these contacts are.
Yeah.
And she's like, I can't forget any of this. He's like, I wish I could make you forget this, Tracy. And she's like, I can't. I won't. And he goes, I know. And then Nick comes out of the alleyway because, of course, he's perfectly fine. And he ends up hugging Natalie. And then we go back to his apartment and he's completely unpacked and he's uncovered everything and everything's back to exactly where it was. He was like, all right.
Magic.
He was like, God, I was really hoping that bomb would cover it up. But then you were conveniently there when I came out. God damn it, I meant to go out the other end of the alley.
I should have used my night vision.
Right. But he's also over the Black Buddha. He's like, okay, I get it. Like this, I've done a good deed. It made me rethink my values for a minute. It takes longer for him to process some of these things. Yeah, because he's probably stuck in the same mindset as he died in, which is a very mystical, when you get a cold, demons have possessed your lungs sort of shit.
Your humors are out of balance.
Yeah, and now he's in this world where everybody's like, Yeah, we know how that works. It's bacteria. And he's like, little demons. Little demon bacteria.
Little tiny demons?
Little
so
tiny
small.
demons.
Ooh, those demons are devious. They got so small we can't even see them.
It's fine. We have anti-demon pills now. Oh, what magic is this? Witchcraft. But
What? You can scrub the demons off of a surface?
so anyway, he does say he's going to go ditch the Black Buddha out in the Atlantic Ocean, in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean where it belongs, which implies he could fly out to the middle of the Atlantic Ocean and back in a night.
Yeah.
Or travel underwater.
All the way to England in one night?
We're never going to solve the vampire airspeed debate, okay? But we're going to have fun with it. So I guess that's good, right? It's good.
Do we ever get like a dick measuring contest between Nick and Vashon on like airspeed?
No. I mean, I guess we kind of do later in part 2 when they're racing through the tunnels to save the city. The ragtag team of vampires saving the city from the bomb threat. But,
And Scruggs, whatever his name is.
Screed. Scruggs. God. But we find out the baby has a family. Which is really sweet. And her dad was on an oil rig, and he's fine. So she still has a dad. And if Skanky were here, he would shame that dad for continuing to work to provide for his child. That's what happens in Father Figure.
Yeah.
Oh, Skanky. And then at the end, Vashon flies off with Tracy, and that's the end of the episode.
Yeah.
To be continued.
So the Scruggs thing came from, there's a movie that's just completely off the wall called The Ballad of Buster Scruggs. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's more of a series of vignettes.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's off the wall.
I got all the way up to the guy that had no arms and no legs, and Liam Neeson throws him off a bridge. And then I was like, I'm good. I am perfectly fine.
I just remember that it's the goofy guy from Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?
Yeah.
And he's supposed to be this badass, like, gunslinger.
Yes. There's also the one with
But that I got the name.
That's where you
mixed
get the
up,
meme with the
Scruggs.
like the hanged guy.
Yeah.
Who goes first time?
Yeah.
That's where that meme comes from too.
Yeah.
Yeah, Liam Neeson trades the guy with no arms and no legs who recites poetry for a chicken that can do math.
Yes.
Because he's God. And people think Forever Night doesn't make sense.
Do you think we should cover the Ballad of Buster Scruggs on
No,
the podcast?
but I think we should
like
have a moment of silence for Skanky and Cohen and Jeanette.
a moment for each of them.
Oh, pour one out for Skanky. Are you going to miss Skanky?
I think so.
Are you impressed that I never once told you that Skanky dies?
You haven't told me since we started doing the podcast.
Yeah, I didn't realize you didn't know. But then as soon as I realized you didn't know, I was like, crap, I have to keep this secret.
But
gonna be so
once I
hard.
realized that it had happened, I remember years ago.
But I didn't tell you Jeanette left.
You did not tell me Jeanette left.
And you were outraged. If you guys get the watch along track, which I am so sorry, I thought I could sell it for $1. Turns out the minimum price is $3. It's going to a good cause, you guys. But the watch along track, which is available for sale on Patreon, or you can just join Patreon for $1 and be our dollar tier Patreon and get it for $1, or you can one time buy it for $3. Anyway, on the watch along track, you can hear Matt's like, Jeanette's gone? What?
I think I was subconsciously primed for Skanky being gone because years ago you'd said something offhand about Forever Night and that Skanky got killed off in the last season. And so when I realized it had happened when we were watching the episode, I was like, oh no, Skanky died. Oh, but Rachel mentioned that like a long time ago.
Yeah.
Okay. So
And then you were like, where's Cohen?
But then I was like, wait, Cohen was on the plane too? Because I couldn't.
They just
keep
put
up.
all the characters they didn't want on the plane. Cohen was on the plane. Skanky's on the plane. Jeanette was not on the plane.
Yeah. But then we got to the club and I'm like, what the fuck did they do with the Raven? And then LaCroix comes out and he's like, oh yeah, Jeanette's gone. I'm like, What?
No!
It's just one after the other.
Yeah, Matt's like, it's compounding. Because I was like, how are you madder that Jeanette's gone than Skanky? And he was like, it's just all kind of building. Like, it's all just kind of hitting me all at once. Yeah. I mean, they were our favorite characters. They were our crew.
Yeah.
And now we got to have a whole new crew.
Yeah, and the only one we got to keep
Is Natalie.
Lacroix and Natalie.
Lacroix, yeah.
Yeah.
That's really it. And Natalie's going to be... Anyway, I'm not going to because that will be more spoilers. And I'm trying to live a spoiler-free life, and I think I fucking did it.
You're succeeding.
So you are welcome. I've been deleting Meg's
Hashtag
spoiler
winning.
tags. I've been deleting Meg's spoiler texts out of the Discord. No, she got it pretty quick. So I didn't have to do too much, but she did one the other day and I deleted it and she was just like, fair enough. So yeah, we're still posting more cocktails. Those are coming up on the Patreon. I think I might have 4 more that are going to be posting. And then I have the Instagram, if you want to go join us there. Patreon's another place to join us. All of that's on our website. It's at strangeandbeautiful.club, including pictures of our trip to Toronto. So if you want to take a look at our trip, I put pictures up there, and that's at strangeandbeautiful.club.
All right.
And I think that's a good place to leave it because now we get to do Season 3, Episode 2, Black Buddha, Part 2. So until next time, friends.
Bye.
Bye.